Hey guys, it's Miss Blum, and what I'm going to be doing is going over two separate videos. One is going to be on adding and subtracting polynomial functions, and then the next video will be on multiplying and dividing polynomial functions, both of which will be on your quiz. So pay close attention, and please stop and pause the video when you need time to write. All right, the first thing is adding and subtracting. When you add and subtract, you just combine like terms in the exact same way that you did for when we were working with i's. So it says here f of x plus g of x. Sometimes they're going to write it like this. So both of these mean the same thing. You're not multiplying an x. So the x out here, you're not multiplying an x. It just means add the f and g functions. That's all this means. So our f function is negative 2x. And our g function is x plus 3. So what you're going to do is just combine your like terms. So negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. So this would be negative 1x or negative x plus 3. Okay, here f of x minus g of x can also be written f minus g of x. Again, you are not doing anything with this x. You're not multiplying the x. You're not doing anything. You're just subtracting the f function minus the g function. So that means we would have negative 2x minus x plus 3. So don't forget that this minus has to go to both the x and the 3. So this minus has to go to both. So you could rewrite it as negative 2x minus x, and also you have to remember it's minus 3. Because you have to remember that that minus has to go to both. So combine your like terms. So it's negative 2 minus 1. That stays the same because it has no like term. So it'll be negative 3x minus 3. Okay, so adding and subtracting, you just combine your like terms. So let's jump down here to these examples. So the first one would be 2x plus 3 plus x squared minus 1. Again, you're just combining your like terms. The only like terms that I have are 3 and minus 1. So remember, you have to write them in order. So remember, order matters. So the first thing you're going to write is x squared. The next thing you're going to write is the 2x, because that's the next thing that comes. And I put a plus because 2x is positive. And then I'm going to do 3 minus 1. That gives me 2. So I'm going to end this with a positive 2. That's my constant, so it has to come last. All right, the next one is h of x minus g of x. So we're doing h minus g. So h is x squared minus 2x plus 3. And g is x squared minus 1. So combine my like terms. 1 minus 1 is 0, so those cancel out. And then the only other like terms I have are 3 and the negative 1. So 3 minus negative 1. That's equal to 4. So I'm going to write what I have left. I have negative 2x. And I have 3 minus negative 1, which is positive 4. Another way I've taught it in the past is to, instead of line them up horizontally, you can line them up vertically. So I'll show you that. So f minus g. So we're going to do the f function minus the g function. That x means nothing. It just means you're subtracting the functions. So I'm going to have 2x plus 3 minus, this is another way of doing it where you can line them up vertically, minus, and the g function is x squared. Notice I'm going to put it here because when I line them up, I like to line them up with their like term. So x squared is going to come here. I have no like term to go there, and then minus 1. Now, remember, I am subtracting, so this is a subtraction. So there's an imaginary number here, like a 0. So it's 0 minus x squared is negative x squared. 2x minus 0 is positive 2x. And 3 minus negative 1. Notice, we're not doing 3 minus 1. It's 3 minus negative 1. So I could even put this in parentheses to show that it's negative. 3 minus negative 1 is 4. So my answer is negative x squared plus 2x plus 4. Okay. So on page 28, we will be doing some examples of addition and subtraction. So I will do the first box, and then you can practice the next 2 boxes in class. All right, so in the first box, you have to know your degree. So whenever there's no degree there, it's a degree of 1. So these are all degrees of 1, and that's a degree of 2. Function type, you should know, linear. Linear. I shouldn't even be doing this for you. All right, so in the first one, we're doing f plus g of x. So we're doing f plus g of x. All right, so our x values, we don't have any. We probably should have given you some x values so that you could plug in some numbers. Let's do it without numbers right now. So our f of x is x minus 3. Our g of x is x plus 2. And then we're going to add them together. So you can add them. I'm going to show you how you can line them up. So this is how you can line them up. So x plus x is 2 x's. And then negative 3 plus 2 is a negative 1. So when we add them together, it's 2x minus 1. And then we're not going to have a xy because, I mean, you could write x and then 2x minus 1 if you want. Now, let's come up with some numbers. So I'm going to give you the numbers 4 and negative 3. All right, so you can do 4 minus 3. 4 plus 2. We already know what that was. It was 2 times 4 minus 1. And you could like check your work this way. So if you want to know if you added it together properly, you can just plug in numbers. So 4 minus 3 is 1. 4 plus 2 is 6. I know that 1 plus 6 is 7. So now, if I do 2 times 4 minus 1, that gives me 7. You know, I did this correctly. So that means that my coordinate is 4, 7. And then finally, I'll do negative 3 minus 3. It's negative 6. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. And then 2 times negative 3 minus 1. So I have a goal of having an answer of negative 7 because negative 6 plus negative 1 should be negative 7. And guess what? I do have negative 7. Now, I just picked these two numbers. You don't have to use those two numbers. You could literally use any numbers you want. we gave you numbers here, but for the last part where you have to do this on your own, I'm going to give you some numbers, okay? So I'm going to give you 5, and I'll give you -2, okay? So I'll know who watched this video based off of the numbers that you have here and the numbers you have here. All right, so that is how you add and subtract polynomial functions. Make sure that you watch this video to help you. Make sure you copy all of these notes into your packet because I will be looking for those notes. All right, good luck.